She caught her husband with another woman, only to discover that woman was his real wife, and she had been the secret mistress for 5 years. Yeah, you heard that right. Let me take you from the very beginning. My name is Putu, and this is the story of a woman who came home one ordinary evening and found her husband in bed with another woman, only to discover that the other woman wasn't another woman at all. She was his real, legal wife, the one he had never divorced, and for the past 5 years, the woman telling this story had been nothing more than his secret mistress. Her name was Elena. She was 32 years old, a talented interior designer who had built a quiet but comfortable life with her husband Victor. They had been together for 5 years. They lived in a beautiful apartment that Elena had decorated herself, took weekend trips, celebrated anniversaries, and talked about starting a family one day. Victor was charming, successful, and always made Elena feel like she was the center of his world. He told her every day how lucky he was to have found her, how she was the only woman who truly understood him. Elena believed him with all her heart. Victor had always been careful. He traveled often for work, sometimes staying away for several days at a time. Elena never questioned it. She trusted him completely. When he was home, he was attentive and loving. He remembered small details, her favorite flowers, the way she liked her coffee, the songs that made her emotional. He introduced her to his friends as my partner, and they seemed to accept her without question. Elena's own family adored him. Her parents often said how lucky she was to have found such a responsible and caring man. There were only a few small things that felt slightly off. Victor never invited her to his parents' house, saying his family was complicated. He kept his phone face down and sometimes left the room to take calls. But Elena brushed it all aside. She told herself that every relationship had small mysteries, and that trust meant not digging too deep. One ordinary Tuesday evening, Elena finished a client meeting much earlier than expected. She decided to surprise Victor with his favorite cheesecake and a bottle of the red wine they both loved. She texted him that she would be home late, just to make sure he didn't worry. When she arrived at their apartment building, she noticed his car was already in the parking spot. She smiled, thinking he must have come home early too. She took the elevator up, humming softly to herself, already imagining the look on his face when she walked through the door. The apartment was quiet, except for a soft, intimate sound coming from the bedroom. Elena's heart skipped a beat. She thought Victor might be watching something on his laptop. She walked quietly down the hallway, still holding the small bouquet of flowers she had picked up on the way home. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. She gently pushed it open. There, in the bed she had shared with Victor for 5 years, was her husband and another woman. The woman was lying on her back, her dark hair spread across the pillows. Victor was on top of her, kissing her neck, his hands moving over her body with a familiarity that made Elena's stomach turn. The woman moaned softly, a sound that cut through Elena like a knife. For several long, agonizing seconds, Elena couldn't move. She just stood there in the doorway, flowers in one hand, the other hand still on the door handle, watching the man she loved give to another woman the intimacy she thought belonged only to her. Victor saw her first. His eyes widened in pure terror. He pulled away so fast that he almost fell off the bed. Elena? Oh God, this isn't. I can explain. Please, just listen to me, he stammered, his voice shaking. The woman sat up quickly, clutching the sheet to her chest. Her face was flushed, her eyes wide with panic. She looked at Elena with a mixture of shock and something that looked almost like pity. Elena finally found her voice. It came out quieter than she expected. Who is she? Victor swallowed hard, looking between the two women. The woman on the bed spoke first, her voice trembling but surprisingly steady. My name is Natalia. I'm Victor's wife. Elena stood motionless in the doorway, the bouquet of flowers still clutched in her hand like a fragile shield. The words "I'm Victor's wife" hung in the air, heavy and sharp, cutting through the romantic atmosphere she had imagined for their evening. The bedroom, once a sanctuary of shared memories and whispered promises, now felt like a stage where the final act of a cruel play was unfolding. The soft glow of the bedside lamp illuminated the scene with merciless clarity. The tangled sheets, the discarded clothes on the floor, the half-empty glass of water on the nightstand that Elena herself had filled before leaving for work that morning. Natalia, the woman who had just claimed the title of wife, sat up slowly, pulling the sheet tightly around her body. Her dark hair fell across her shoulders, and her eyes, wide with shock, held a strange mix of guilt and resignation. She looked at Elena, not with hatred, but with a weary kind of pity, as if she had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Victor, still kneeling on the bed, looked like a man who had just watched his entire carefully constructed world collapse in a single heartbeat. His face was pale, his breathing shallow, and for the first time in 5 years, he seemed completely lost for words. Elena's voice, when it finally came, was barely above a whisper. Yet it carried the weight of 5 years of love, trust, and quiet devotion. Your wife. The word tasted foreign and bitter on her tongue. Natalia nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving Elena's face. Yes. We've been married for 9 years. We never divorced. Victor told me about you 3 months after you started seeing each other. He said you were just a temporary distraction, that it would end soon. But it didn't, and I stayed because I loved him, and I didn't want to lose the life we had built together. I thought if I waited long enough, he would come back to me and our daughter. Elena felt the floor tilt beneath her. A daughter. Victor had a child with this woman. A child he had never mentioned in 5 years of shared life. She remembered all the nights he had come home late, kissing her forehead and saying he was exhausted from work. She remembered the weekends he disappeared for team-building events. She remembered how he would sometimes stare at his phone with a soft smile and tell her it was just a funny meme from a friend. Every single one of those moments had been a lie. Every I love you had been divided between 2 women. Every plan they had made for the future had been built on sand. Victor finally found his voice, crawling off the bed and taking a hesitant step toward her. Elena, please. Let me explain. Natalia and our marriage was already falling apart when I met you. We were staying together for our daughter's sake. When I fell in love with you, I didn't know how to end things with her. I kept thinking I would fix everything, that I could have both, until I figured it out. But the years just kept passing, and I got scared to lose either of you. I love you, Elena. I love you more than I've ever loved anyone. You're the one I want to build a real life with. Natalia let out a soft, bitter laugh through her tears. He's been telling me the same thing for 5 years, that I'm the one he's going to come back to. That you're just a phase, that he needs time. I believed him because I wanted to believe him, because our daughter asks about her daddy every single night. Elena stood there, surrounded by the life she had thought was real, and felt something inside her chest finally give way, not in a dramatic explosion of anger, but in a quiet, devastating collapse. She had spent 5 years loving a man who had never fully belonged to her. She had celebrated anniversaries, planned trips, dreamed about children, and introduced him to her family as her future, while another woman had been waiting at home with his daughter and their shared last name. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It wasn't just emotional. It was existential. She had been living in the shadow of a marriage she never knew existed, playing the role of the other woman without ever being told she was one. She looked at Victor, then at Natalia, and spoke with a calmness that surprised even herself. I need you both to leave my apartment. Right now. Take your things and go. I don't want to hear explanations tonight. I don't want promises. I just want you out of the space I thought was ours. Elena stood in the doorway of her own bedroom and watched the 2 people who had just shattered her entire reality begin to move. Victor looked at her one last time, his eyes desperate, pleading, as if he still believed he could talk his way out of this. Natalia, wrapped in the sheet that belonged to Elena's bed, moved slowly, almost mechanically, gathering her clothes from the floor. Neither of them spoke. The silence was heavier than any words could have been. Elena did not raise her voice. She did not cry in front of them. She simply stepped aside and held the bedroom door open wider, her hand steady on the handle. "Take your things and leave," she said quietly. "Both of you, I don't want to hear anything else tonight." Victor tried to approach her, his voice breaking. "Elena, please, don't do this. I love you. I made a terrible mistake, but I can fix it. We can go to counseling. I'll end everything with Natalia. I'll tell our daughter the truth. Just give me a chance to make this right." Natalia stood behind him, her eyes red and swollen. She looked at Elena with a strange mixture of shame and exhaustion. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I really am. I stayed because I thought he would eventually choose us. I never wanted you to be hurt like this." Elena looked at both of them for a long moment. The man she had loved with all her heart and the woman who had unknowingly shared him with her for 5 years. Then she said the only thing that felt true. "You both had 5 years to choose honesty. Instead, you chose to make me the secret. Now I'm choosing myself. Leave." Victor and Natalia left without another word. Elena stood at the window and watched their car pulled away into the night. She didn't move for a long time. The apartment, which had once felt like a home filled with love and shared dreams, now felt like a stage set for a life that had never truly belonged to her. She walked back into the bedroom and looked at the unmade bed. The sheets still carried the scent of another woman's perfume. She stripped the bed completely, threw the sheets into the washing machine, and then sat on the bare mattress, staring at the wall. For the first time since she had opened that door, the tears came, not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet, steady streams that ran down her cheeks as she finally allowed herself to feel the full weight of the betrayal. 5 years. 5 years of believing she was the only one. 5 years of planning a future that had never existed. 5 years of being someone's secret. The next few days passed in a haze of quiet determination. Elena changed every lock on the apartment. She removed Victor's name from the lease and from every shared account. She packed all of his belongings into boxers and left them in the hallway with a single note. "Take what is yours. Do not come back." She called her closest friend at 2 a.m. and told her everything. The friend listened in stunned silence and then simply said, "Come stay with me tonight. You don't have to be alone." Elena didn't sleep much those first nights. She lay awake, replaying every moment of the past 5 years, searching for the signs she had missed. The late nights, the unexplained absences, the way Victor would sometimes look at his phone with a soft smile, and then quickly put it away when she entered the room. The way he never wanted to take her to his family events. She had been living in a beautiful illusion, and now the illusion had shattered, leaving only the sharp edges of truth behind. In the weeks that followed, Elena began the long process of rebuilding. She went to therapy for the first time in her life and learned how to name the pain she was carrying. Betrayal, humiliation, grief for the life she thought she had. She discovered that Victor had been married to Natalia the entire time. They had a daughter together. They had a house in the suburbs. They had a life that existed parallel to the one he had built with Elena. He had never planned to leave Natalia. He had simply wanted both women, one for stability and family, the other for excitement and passion. Elena had been the secret chapter in his story, the one he kept hidden from the world. But Elena refused to remain a secret any longer. She blocked Victor on every platform. She changed her number. She focused on her career with a renewed passion she hadn't felt in years. She started running again in the mornings, planted new flowers on her balcony, and slowly began to fill the empty spaces in her life with things that belonged only to her. So, that's the full story. Elena thought she had found the love of her life. Instead, she discovered she had spent 5 years as the secret mistress in a marriage she never knew existed. The betrayal was complete, layered, and cruel in its deception. But Elena did not let it define her. She grieved, she raged in silence. She cried in the middle of the night, and then she stood up, reclaimed her space, and chose herself with a quiet, unbreakable strength. She lost the man she loved, the future she had imagined, and the illusion of a life she thought was real. But she gained something far more precious, her freedom, her dignity, and the deep, unshakable knowledge that she is worthy of a love that does not require hiding in the shadows. You can send your story to my email anytime, and I promise I'll tell it in the next episodes. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like on this video, and let the truth spread everywhere.